The Galactic Council Chamber on the planet Prime was the largest building ever made by any living species. It stretched for almost a full kilometer, and its walls were made of special crystal that caught the light of 3 artificial suns hanging above the main floor. Representatives from 847 different spacefaring civilizations sat on floating platforms, each one at a different height to fit the many different body types that existed among the stars. High Arbiter of the Dominion raised all 4 of his arms to call the meeting to order. His species had held this important position for 12 cycles in a row because everyone trusted them to be fair and neutral. When he spoke, his deep, rumbling voice was changed by special machines so that every species in the room could understand him. "The matter we discuss today concerns the Sol system," announced. "Specifically, the 3rd planet from its star. The species there calls it Earth." A wave of boredom passed through the chamber. Many of the delegates did not even try to hide their lack of interest. The ambassador actually closed 2 of her 3 eyes and seemed ready to fall asleep. "Earth," continued, looking at the glowing information floating from his personal screen, "has achieved basic space travel. They have built permanent homes on their moon and research stations on the 4th planet of their system. By our standard rules, they qualify for observer status in the Council." Ambassador of the hegemony of bright stars made a sound that his species used to show disrespect. Observer status. For those primitives, they still burn old fuels for energy. Their fastest ships would take hundreds of years to reach the nearest inhabited system. "They have nuclear capabilities," noted delegate of the collective mind. When she spoke, her words carried the thoughts of billions of connected minds. That usually qualifies a species for at least some consideration. "Nuclear weapons are just a phase that developing species go through," said dismissively. "Most species do it. The fact that they have not destroyed themselves yet is just luck. Give them another few hundred years." Laughter filled the chamber, translated into 1,000 different sounds of amusement. Dr. Price sat in a small observation room high above the chamber floor. She was one of only 3 humans ever allowed to watch a council session. At 52 years old, she had spent her whole life studying alien languages and how to make first contact with other species. She had been Earth's unofficial representative to the Council for 7 years, even though the Council had never formally recognized her position. Sitting next to her was Commander Daniel Shaw of the United Earth Space Force. His uniform was perfect, his face carefully blank despite the insults being thrown at his species below. "They are laughing at us again," he said quietly. "They always laugh at us," replied. "We are the youngest species in the room by about 40,000 years. To them, we are children playing with dangerous things. Children who split the atom and walked on the moon in the same century. Which scares them more than they will ever admit." Below, the discussion continued. The showed data on human technology, population growth, and how many resources they used. The numbers were correct but presented in the worst possible way. Earth's achievements were shown as lucky accidents rather than real progress. Human wars were highlighted, environmental damage was listed, and social problems were examined in painful detail. Nobody mentioned human art, music, books, or philosophy. Nobody talked about how fast humans invented new things or how they could survive in any environment on their planet, and even some beyond it. "The assessment committee recommends continued watching without contact," concluded. "Earth will be looked at again in 500 standard cycles. Until then, the Sol system stays under observation only. No contact, no help, no sharing of technology." The vote was quick. 831 in favor, 12 not voting, 4 against. Earth remained what it had always been to the Council, a curiosity, a footnote, a world not worth remembering. Gathered her papers and prepared to leave. She had reports to write, suggestions to make, none of which would change anything. Earth would continue to be ignored, and there was nothing she could do about it. She had no way of knowing that in 18 months, everything would change. Admiral Benjamin Cole stood on the bridge of the carrier Independence, watching the blue ball of Earth slowly spin beyond the thick windows. At 61 years old, he had served in the United Earth Space Force for almost 40 years, rising through the ranks as humanity took its first careful steps into space. The Independence was the lead ship of Earth's small fleet. They had 47 ships that could fight, from small patrol boats to the 3 carriers that were the best military ships humans had ever built. It was not much compared to other species. The Dominion had over 10,000 warships. The hegemony of bright stars had so many they never bothered to count them. But the Independence was his, and Cole was proud of her. "Admiral, we are getting an urgent message from Lunar Command," reported Lieutenant Commander Hayes from the communications station. "Put it on screen." The face of General appeared. His expression was serious. Was in charge of the United Earth Defense Initiative, the organization that controlled all of humanity's military forces in space. "Benjamin, we have a problem. Our deep space sensors have found something unusual." "What kind of unusual?" 37 hours ago, we picked up a strange disturbance about 2 light years from our sun. At first, we thought it was something natural, maybe a wandering rock or a group of asteroids. But the readings do not match anything natural we know of. Cole felt the first stirring of worry. "What are you telling me?" "The disturbance is moving, and it is moving toward us." The bridge went silent. Every officer there understood what this meant. In all their years of exploring space, humans had never found anything moving through the space between stars on purpose. "How fast?" Cole asked. "That is the strange part. The speed changes. Sometimes it seems to move very slowly. Other times it goes so fast our instruments can barely measure it. Whatever it is not following any natural path." "Have you contacted the Council?" His face darkened. "I did. They told me that no known civilizations operate in that area of space and suggested we might be reading natural events wrong. They were very rude about it." "Of course they were. What about their own sensors? Surely they must have found something." "If they have, they are not telling us." Cole turned to look back at Earth, so small and beautiful against the endless darkness. "How long until this thing reaches us?" "Based on where it is going and how fast it moves on average, somewhere between 6 and 18 months. There are too many unknowns to be more exact." "That is a big range." "I know. Benjamin, I need you to keep this secret for now. If people find out that something unknown is coming toward Earth and we cannot even tell what it is, there will be panic." "Understood. What do you need from me?" "For now, continue normal work but increase patrols far from Earth. I want our sensors reaching as far as possible. If this thing gets close enough for us to see it clearly, I want to know right away." The call ended, and Cole stood still for a long moment, thinking about what he had just learned. In 40 years of service, he had faced pirates, natural disasters, and the occasional tense moment with alien ships that came too close to human space. But he had never faced something truly unknown. Space was huge beyond what humans could really understand, filled with wonders and dangers that humanity had only begun to discover. Whatever was coming toward them from the darkness might be nothing at all, just a cosmic coincidence that would pass without causing any problems. Or it might be something else entirely. Cole did not believe in premonitions, but he could not shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Price came back to Earth feeling heavy with disappointment. Her shuttle came down through the clouds toward Geneva, where the United Nations Space Council had its headquarters. The building was a symbol of human hope, a shining tower of glass and steel that reached toward the stars humanity so badly wanted to join. Director Samuel Marsh was waiting for her in his office on the 47th floor. He was a small man, neat and careful in everything he did, with a mind that could understand political problems faster than most computers could solve math. How bad was it? He asked right away. They laughed at us again. The vote was not even close. Marsh sighed and pointed to a chair for her to sit. I have read your early report. 500 years before they will even think about reviewing our status. That is generous by their standards, is it not? Very. They had to wait 3,000 years after first contact before they got observer status. Then again, they used to eat their neighbors. So we should feel lucky. We should feel irrelevant, which is exactly how they see us. Marsh was quiet for a moment, his fingers pressed together under his chin. Something has happened, something that makes our standing with the council more worrying than usual. Felt a chill? What kind of something? 2 days ago, our deep space sensors found something strange approaching our solar system. It is still too far away to see clearly, but early signs suggest it is artificial, very large and moving with purpose. Has anyone told the council? General did. They dismissed our concerns. His mind raced through the possibilities. Space was full of things that could threaten a young species like humanity. There were civilizations that saw lesser races as resources to use, machine minds that had outlived their makers, and now wandered the stars looking for purpose, even natural events that could wipe out whole worlds without warning. What are we dealing with? She asked. We do not know. That is the problem. Our sensors are not good enough to give us clear information at that distance, and the council either cannot or will not share what they know with us. So we are blind. Basically, yes. Dr. Price, I asked you here because you know galactic politics better than anyone else on Earth. If something is coming our way, something big enough to show up on our basic sensors from 2 light years away, what could it be? Thought about the question carefully. If it were a known civilization, the council would have told us. They may think we are nothing special, but they follow their own rules. Unexpected arrivals in claimed space are taken seriously. So it is something unknown. Or something they do not want us to know about. Marsh's expression sharpened. Explain. There are rumors, whispers in the back channels that even I am not supposed to hear. Stories about things that exist beyond the mapped parts of space. Old things, dangerous things. What kind of things? Hesitated. What she was about to say would sound like superstition, like the ghost stories primitive people told around fires to explain the darkness. But she had spent enough time among aliens to know that sometimes the old stories were true. They call them the harvesters, she said quietly. Nobody knows where they came from or what they really are. Some say they are ancient machines left behind by a civilization that died before the oldest living species was born. Others say they are something else entirely. But the stories all agree on one thing. They come in great numbers, and when they leave, nothing remains. Marsh was silent for a long moment. You are telling me that something out of a nightmare might be heading for Earth, and the advanced civilizations that could help us are too busy looking down on us to share important information. I am telling you what I have heard. I have no proof that the harvesters are real, much less that they are what is coming toward us. But you believe they might be. Looked out the window at the city below, at the millions of people going about their daily lives, completely unaware that something might be approaching that could end everything they knew. I believe we need to prepare for the worst, she said. Because if the council is not taking this seriously, either they know something we do not, or they have decided that whatever happens to us is not their problem. 6 months passed. The thing in space came closer, and as it did, Earth sensors finally started to show clearer pictures. What they showed made Admiral Cole's blood run cold. It was not one object, it was thousands. 2,047 different signals, arranged in a pattern that could only be on purpose. Each signal was huge, some larger than anything humans had ever built. They moved together perfectly, speeding up and slowing down as one, like a single living thing made of countless parts. Cole called an emergency meeting of the top military leaders in the secure meeting room on the Independence. General joined by hologram, along with representatives from every major Earth nation's military. "Ladies and," Cole began, "what you are about to see is top secret. If this information gets out to the public before we are ready, the results could be very bad." He turned on the main display, showing the sensor data in 3 dimensions. The fleet appeared as a cloud of red dots, moving steadily toward the edge of the solar system. "About 2,000 ships," Cole continued. "The smallest ones are at least 300 meters long. The largest," he paused, checking his notes, "the largest is almost 50 kilometers long." The room exploded. Questions came from every direction, a chaos of disbelief and fear. "How is this possible? Who are they? What do they want? Why has the council not warned us?" Cole raised his hand for quiet. "I will answer what I can. First, we do not know who they are. The ship designs do not match any species in the council's database, or at least not any database they have shared with us." "What about the harvesters?" asked Admiral, commander of the Pacific Fleet. "I have heard the rumors." "We have no confirmation that this fleet is connected to those stories, but we have no confirmation that it is not either." General's hologram leaned forward. "What are our options?" Cole had spent the past month asking himself that same question. The answer was always the same. "Our entire fighting fleet is 47 ships," he said. "Even if every ship was working perfectly, fully crewed, and in the best position possible, we would be outnumbered more than 40 to 1. And that is assuming their technology is similar to ours, which seems unlikely given the size of their ships and how far they have traveled. So we cannot fight them. Not directly, not in open space. If they want to hurt us, our only hope would be to make Earth itself as hard a target as possible. Planetary defense weapons, hit-and-run attacks, making any invasion cost them enough that they might decide we are not worth the trouble. And if they are not hostile," asked General from the Asian Coalition, "then we welcome them and hope they are nicer than the Council has been." Price spoke up from her seat at the end of the table. She had been invited at Cole's request because her knowledge of aliens was now more valuable than ever. "We should think about reaching out to them," she said, "before they reach us. If we can start talking to them, show them that we are intelligent, reasonable beings willing to communicate, we might be able to avoid a fight altogether." "Is that wise?" asked. "We know nothing about them. For all we know, they do not talk at all, or their way of talking involves things we cannot survive." "It is a risk," agreed. "But so is sitting here waiting to see what happens. At least if we make first contact on our terms, we have some control over the situation." Cole considered her words. Everything about this situation was new. There were no rules, no guidelines, no examples from history to follow. Whatever decisions they made in the coming weeks would shape humanity's future, if humanity had a future to shape. "We will do both," he decided. "We prepare for the worst while hopping for the best. Dr. Price, I want you to work with our communications team on developing ways to talk to them, something that could work across different senses and ways of thinking. I will need access to everything we have on alien languages and psychology." "You will have it. General, I need permission to start preparing all our defenses. Every ship, every station, every weapon system we have." Nodded slowly. "I will take it to the Security Council. Given the situation, I do not expect anyone to argue." "One more thing," Cole said. "I want to try contacting the Council again, not through official channels this time. Dr. Price, you mentioned unofficial contacts. Is there anyone who might be willing to share information secretly?" Thought for a moment. "There might be. They have always been kinder to younger species than most. Their ambassador owes me a favor." "Then use it. We need to know what we are dealing with, and if the Council will not tell us officially, maybe someone will tell us quietly." The meeting ended with a feeling of grim determination. Humanity had faced countless challenges throughout its history: ice ages, plagues, world wars, environmental disasters. It had survived them all through being adaptable, tough, and stubbornly refusing to accept defeat. Now it faced something new, something from beyond the stars that might be coming to destroy them, or might be coming for reasons they could not begin to understand. Either way, humanity would face it standing up. Contact among them was Ambassador, a being who was ancient by human standards, but only middle-aged by her own species count. They looked like tall, thin humanoids with skin that changed colors based on their emotions. Right now, Skin was cycling through worried blue and anxious purple. They met in secret, in a small diplomatic station on the moon that served as neutral ground for unofficial conversations between species. Had traveled there pretending it was routine business. Only a few people knew her real purpose. "You should not have come here," said, her voice carrying real fear. "If the Council learns I am talking to you about this, then do not let them find out. We need to know what is coming toward us. My people are getting ready for war without even knowing who the enemy is." The ambassador was quiet for a long moment, her skin settling into a deep, troubled dark blue. "What I tell you cannot be traced back to me. If it is, I will deny everything and our friendship will mean nothing." "I understand." "Very well." Moved to the window, looking out at the gray surface of the moon and the earth rising beyond it. "You were right to be afraid. What is coming toward your system is known to us, though we do not speak of them openly. We call them the Void-Born. The Harvesters. That is one name for them. There are others in 100 different languages across 1,000 worlds. Devourers, Enders, the Final Silence, all mean the same thing." Felt her heart sink. They are real. They are real and they are ancient. Older than the Council, older than any living civilization we know of. They appear without warning in numbers too great to stop, and when they leave, his voice trembled. When they leave, there is nothing left. Not ruins, not remains, nothing. It is as if the worlds they visit never existed at all. How many times has this happened? We do not know. Records are few. The Void-Born do not leave survivors to tell stories. What we know comes from watching from far away as neighbors disappeared. 47 civilizations in recorded history, simply gone. Entire species erased from existence. Struggled to understand this information. 47 civilizations, billions, perhaps trillions of lives. And the Council knew this. They knew what might be coming for us and said nothing. Skin flushed with shame, turning a sickly yellow-green. The Council decided long ago that some truths are too terrible to share. If word spread that the Void-Born had returned, that they were approaching a populated system, there would be panic. Species would abandon their homes, fleets would scatter, the careful order we have built over thousands of years would fall apart. So you decided to let us die without knowing. The Council decided that Earth was acceptable losses. You are young, alone, not part of galactic society. If the Void-Born take you, the impact on everyone else would be small. A tragedy, certainly, but a contained one. Had never felt such cold anger. Acceptable losses, that is what we are to you. I did not say I agreed with the decision. I am here, am I not? I am telling you the truth, even though doing so could destroy my career, my standing, everything I have worked for. Because some of us believe that every species has the right to face their end with open eyes. What are our chances if we fight? Turned to face her and for the first time saw something like respect in the alien's eyes. No one has ever fought the Void-Born and survived. No one has ever tried. When they come, species run away or give up or simply wait for the end. They do not fight. Maybe that has been the problem all along. Admiral Cole received his report with grim acceptance. He had suspected something like this was coming, had felt it in his bones since the first sensor readings came through. Now he had proof of humanity's worst fears, along with something else, a challenge. No one has ever fought the void born and survived. No one has ever tried. Cole gathered his officers in the main briefing room of the Independence. They came from different countries, different backgrounds, different traditions, but they all wore the same uniform now, the uniform of Earth's defenders. "You have all read Dr. Price's report," he began. "You know what we are facing. 2,000 ships crewed by beings or machines that have destroyed 47 civilizations. The galactic community has given up on us. They expect us to die quietly, the way every other species has died." He paused, looking at each face in turn. Some showed fear, others determination. All showed the weight of understanding their situation. "I am not interested in dying quietly," Cole continued. "And I do not believe any of you are either. We have been looked down on since the moment we stepped into space. Too young, too primitive, too backward to matter. Maybe that is true by their standards, but their standards have not saved anyone from the void born. Their caution, their careful plans, their acceptance of what they thought was certain has failed every single time." "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" asked Captain Victoria, commander of the carrier Resolute. "I am suggesting we do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. We adapt. We invent. We find solutions that should not exist and weapons that should not work and plans that make no logical sense but somehow succeed anyway." He turned on the holographic display, showing a detailed map of the solar system. "We have 18 weeks before the void-born fleet reaches our outer defenses. In that time, we are going to turn this system into a fortress. Every asteroid becomes a possible weapon. Every moon becomes a base. Every ship we have will carry the most powerful weapons we can build or put together. Our weapons may not even hurt their ships," pointed out Commander Hayes. "We have no idea what kind of defenses they have. Then we will find out. We will hit them with everything we have and see what works. Nuclear warheads, rocks thrown at high speed, energy weapons, experimental systems we have been keeping secret. If we have it, we use it. And if nothing works—" Cole smiled, a hard, dangerous expression that his officers had rarely seen. "Then we will invent something that does. That is what humans do. When our ancestors faced animals stronger than themselves, they invented spears. When diseases threatened to wipe them out, they invented medicine. When the atom was a mystery, they broke it open and found the power of stars inside." He stood taller, his voice rising with belief. "The void-born have never met a species like us. They have faced civilizations older and more advanced, but those civilizations had something we do not have: acceptance. They believe that some things cannot be beaten, that some enemies cannot be defeated. We do not believe that. We have never believed that, and that is going to be our greatest weapon." The next 18 weeks saw humanity transformed. Old fights between countries were set aside. National borders became meaningless. The entire species united behind a single purpose: survival. Factories that had been making everyday goods began making weapons. Mining operations grew massively, pulling raw materials from asteroids and moons to feed the endless hunger of the war machine. Scientists who had spent their careers on theory found their work suddenly crucial, as experimental technologies were rushed from idea to test model to full production. Admiral Cole set up his command on Mars, using the planet as a base for the outer defense network. The red planet had been partly changed over the past 100 years, its thin air just barely able to support life with help. Now it became humanity's second fortress, its cities hardened against attack, its people trained in emergency plans. Dr. Price worked alongside the military, helping to organize communications between Earth's various groups and preparing ways to talk to the enemy in case discussion became possible. She did not believe it would, but she prepared anyway. Hope, she had learned, was a weapon too. Commander Daniel Shaw was in charge of one of the special groups putting weapons on asteroids throughout the system. It was dangerous work, each mission needing exact calculations and perfect execution. One mistake could mean death, or worse, setting off nuclear weapons that were needed somewhere else. "Package secured," he reported from the surface of asteroid 2047K, a rock roughly the size of a small city floating in the darkness between Mars and Jupiter. "Detonation system armed and ready." "Got it, Commander," came the reply from the control center. "Move to next target." Shaw looked up at the stars, wondering which direction the enemy would come from. Somewhere out there, 2,000 ships were heading toward everything he had ever known or loved. His wife, his children, his parents, every friend he had ever made. All of it at risk. He thought about what Admiral Cole had said. No one has ever fought the Void Born. No one has ever tried. Well, humanity was trying now. For better or worse, they were going to fight. The Void-born fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system on a quiet Tuesday morning, Earth time. They came out of whatever method of faster-than-light travel they used in perfect formation, a wall of ships stretching across millions of kilometers of space. Admiral Cole watched the sensor information from his command center on Mars, surrounded by officers who had trained for this moment without truly believing it would come. "Confirmed count, 2,047 ships," reported the sensor operator. "They have stopped at the outer edge. They are not moving forward." "Yet," Cole muttered, "they are looking at us, studying us." "Admiral, we are receiving a message. All frequencies, all types of signals, they want to be heard." "Let us hear it then." The voice that filled the command center was unlike anything Cole had ever heard. It was made of multiple tones layered over each other, creating a sound that seemed to shake in the bones as much as the ears. Yet somehow, impossibly, it was speaking English. "Inhabitants of this system," the voice said, each word exact and measured. "We have watched your preparations, your weapons, your defenses, your determination. This has never happened before. In 400,000 cycles, no species has tried to resist us." Cole stepped forward, turning on the system that would send his response. "Then you have not met humanity before. I am Admiral Benjamin Cole of the United Earth Space Force. Who am I talking to?" A long pause, then. "We are the collective. We are the end and the beginning. We are what remains when everything else is gone." "That does not answer my question." "We do not have names as you understand them. We are all and we are one. But if a name helps you understand, you may call us the Void-born, as others have done." Cole felt a chill but pushed forward. "What do you want?" "We want what we have always wanted, to continue, to expand, to consume what can be consumed and to take in what can be taken in." "You want to destroy us." "Destruction is a primitive idea. We do not destroy, we transform. Everything that was becomes part of everything that is. Your matter, your energy, your information, all will be kept within the collective. This is not death. This is rising to something higher." "Forgive me if I do not find that comforting." "Your comfort does not matter. Your choice does not matter. We do not negotiate. We do not bargain. We simply are." Cole looked around at his officers, seeing fear and determination in equal amounts. This was the moment. This was where humanity chose its path. "Then let me tell you something about humanity," he said, his voice hard as steel. "We have been underestimated before. By diseases that should have wiped us out, by environments that should have killed us, by predators stronger than ourselves. Every time we were supposed to die quietly and accept our fate. Every time we refused." He stepped closer to the microphone, as if the Void-born could somehow see him through the transmission. "You have destroyed 47 civilizations, maybe more. You have never lost, never faced real resistance, but you have also never faced us. We do not accept fate. We do not give in to what seems certain. We fight. We adapt. We overcome." Your confidence is noted. It is also meaningless. Then come and prove it. Come into our system with your 2,000 ships and your 400,000 years of victories. We will be waiting. The transmission ended. The command center was silent. "Admiral," said Captain quietly, "did you just challenge an alien armada to a fight?" Cole allowed himself a small smile. "I believe I did." "Well," she straightened her uniform, "at least we will go down fighting." "We are not going down at all, not if I have anything to say about it." The Void-born did not answer humanity's challenge with words. They answered with action. Their fleet began moving forward 12 hours after Cole's broadcast, coming in precise formation toward the inner system. But they did not simply push straight ahead. They sent smaller ships forward first, testing humanity's defenses, checking their weapons, mapping their positions. The first fight happened near Neptune, where a group of automated defense platforms had been placed months earlier. 3 Void-born scout ships approached, their smooth black hulls soaking up light rather than reflecting it. The platforms opened fire. Missiles streaked through space, nuclear warheads locked onto their targets. Energy weapons shot out, invisible except for what they did to nearby debris. 2 of the Void-born scouts were destroyed instantly, their hulls crumpling under the combined attack. The third managed to dodge, spinning away and retreating toward the main fleet. Cole watched the data with fierce satisfaction. They can be killed. Whatever they are made of, they can be killed. "But we have only scratched them," pointed out his tactical officer. 2 ships out of 2,000. At this rate, they will overwhelm us through sheer numbers. "Then we need to even those numbers. Where is Commander Shaw?" "In position near Jupiter, with the second asteroid wing." "Tell him it is time. Operation Rockfall is a go." Commander Shaw received the orders while floating in zero gravity near the surface of asteroid 2098 M. His suit's lights were the only brightness in the complete darkness. "All units, this is Shaw. Begin rockfall. Repeat, begin rockfall." Across the outer solar system, nuclear charges went off at the same time. Not against the enemy directly, but against carefully chosen asteroids. Rocks that had been positioned and prepared over the past months. The explosions did not destroy the asteroids. They pushed them. Dozens of massive rocks, some kilometers across, started moving toward the approaching Void-born fleet. It was not a precise attack. It could not be. But it did not need to be precise. The asteroids created a field of moving obstacles, forcing the enemy fleet to change direction, to break their formation, to deal with threats from multiple directions. Some of the asteroids were shot down and destroyed. Others were dodged. But a few hit their marks, crashing into Void-born ships in explosions that lit up the darkness of space. 18 confirmed hits, reported the tactical officer. 12 enemy ships destroyed, 6 damaged. Cole nodded. 20 ships down, 1,929 to go. The math was still terrible, but it was better than it had been. Prepare Phase 2. Phase 2 was the Gauntlet, a series of defensive positions stretching from Jupiter to Mars, each one designed to slow the enemy advance and cause maximum damage. The Void-born pushed through relentlessly, their numbers seeming endless. But humanity had prepared for this. Every moon, every station, every piece of rock large enough to hide behind had been turned into a weapon or a trap. On Europa, Lieutenant Commander Martinez commanded a ground-based missile battery that had been put in secretly. When a group of enemy fighters came down toward the surface, she waited until they were committed, then launched everything she had. "For Earth," she whispered as her missiles streaked upward, "for everyone." In the asteroid belt, Captain Victoria led the carrier Resolute in a series of quick attacks. Her fighters would strike enemy ships and then disappear among the rocks before counterattacks could find them. Near Mars, Admiral coordinated the planetary defense grid, a network of weapons platforms and surface batteries that turned the red planet into a fortress covered with guns. The Void-born kept coming. For every ship humanity destroyed, it seemed like 10 more took its place. But they were slowing. Their formation was breaking apart. The neat, orderly advance was becoming a chaotic push forward, each ship fighting alone rather than as part of a whole. They are not used to this, Price observed from her position in the command center. They have never faced resistance before. They do not know how to adapt. Everyone can learn, Cole replied. The question is whether they will learn faster than we can kill them. The turning point came in the skies above Mars, where the largest space battle in human history erupted over 3 terrible days. The Void-born sent their main force to break through the planetary defenses. Over 1,000 ships came down on Mars, their weapons turning the orbital platforms to wreckage, their fighters swarming through the thin atmosphere toward the surface installations. Humanity met them with everything it had left. Admiral Cole commanded from a bunker deep beneath the Martian surface, coordinating the defense with grim determination. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier humanity could gather was committed to this fight. "Independence is gone," reported Captain, her voice tight with grief. She took out 3 enemy capitals before they overwhelmed her. "Resolute is still fighting," Cole replied. "Keep her in the fight as long as possible." "Sir, we have lost 70% of our fleet. Our ground batteries are running low on ammunition. We cannot hold much longer." "Then we will hold as long as we can." The battle went on. Fires burned across the Martian landscape as crashed ships plowed into the changed soil. The sky was filled with the flashes of explosions, the trails of missiles, the beams of energy weapons. And then something changed. A massive Void-born capital ship, the largest ship in their fleet, suddenly tilted to one side. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull. Its weapons went silent. "What happened?" Cole demanded. "Unknown, sir. It just stopped. Wait." The sensor operator's voice rose with excitement. "Sir, several enemy ships are breaking off. They are retreating." Cole stared at the display in disbelief. The Void-born fleet was breaking apart. Ships were turning away from the battle, speeding toward the outer system, not in an orderly retreat but in what looked almost like panic. "What are they doing? Why are they running?" The answer came through the communication system, the same layered voice that had spoken before, but now it carried something new: uncertainty, fear. "You have done the impossible," the collective said. "You have taught us pain, you have taught us loss. In 400,000 cycles we have never known these things. We must think about this." "Think about what?" Cole demanded. "You came here to destroy us. Now you are running because we fought back." "We came here to continue, as we have always continued, but continuing requires certainty. You have created doubt. You have created the possibility that we might end. This is new to us." The voice fell silent. Across the system, Void-born ships were leaving the fight, pulling back toward the outer reaches where they had first arrived. The battle was over, but no one celebrated. The cost had been too high. Of humanity's 47 combat ships, 11 remained working. Thousands had died in the fighting. Cities on Earth and Mars had been damaged, some beyond repair. The scars of the battle would be visible for generations. But humanity had survived. Against all odds, against an enemy that had never known defeat, humanity had survived. Admiral Cole stood on the surface of Mars, looking up at the sky where the fires had finally gone out. Price stood beside him, her face drawn with tiredness. "They are not gone," she said. "They have pulled back to the outer system, but they are still there. I know, this is not over. Maybe it never will be. The Council has been trying to contact us. They want to know how we did it." Cole laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Let them wonder. They wrote us off. They left us to die. Now they want our secrets. They are afraid. If we could hurt the Void-born, if we could make them retreat, then everything the Council believed about the universe just changed. They do not know how to handle that. Neither do I, honestly. Cole turned to look at the horizon, where the first hints of a Martian sunrise were beginning to show. We have been fighting to survive for so long, I do not know what comes next. We rebuild, said. We recover. We prepare for whatever comes next because the Void-born might come back or something else might come along, but we will be ready. How can you be so sure? Smiled the first real smile she had managed in months. Because that is what humans do. We endure, we adapt, we overcome. We have been doing it for 1,000,000 years. I do not think we are going to stop now. 1 year later, Admiral Cole stood in the Galactic Council chamber on Prime, in the same spot where Price had once watched humanity dismissed as irrelevant. He was not alone. Behind him stood representatives from every nation on Earth, a united front presenting humanity's case to the stars. High Arbiter called the meeting to order, his manner noticeably different from the contempt that had characterized previous sessions. The matter before us today is the formal recognition of Earth and its people as a full member civilization of the Galactic Council, announced. Given recent events, this recognition seems appropriate. Ambassador of the hegemony of bright stars rose to speak, his earlier contempt replaced by something more complex. The humans defeated the Void-born. Not completely, not permanently, but they did what no one else has ever done. They fought back and survived. The Council has ignored them for too long. That must change. The vote was unanimous, 847 in favor, none opposed. Cole accepted the recognition with quiet dignity, knowing that it meant little compared to what humanity had lost and what they still faced. The Void-born remained in the outer reaches of the solar system, watching, thinking. They might come back. They might try to get revenge. They might decide to try again with more force, more determination. But humanity would be ready. In the end, that was what mattered. Not the recognition of alien powers, not the acceptance of galactic society. What mattered was that humanity had faced the darkness and refused to give in. They had been overlooked, underestimated, written off as unimportant. They had proven themselves worthy of the stars. And they were just getting started. The chamber erupted in discussion as the vote concluded. Species that had never given humanity a second thought now spoke in hushed, respectful tones. The ambassador, who had once closed her eyes in boredom at the mention of Earth, now approached Cole with all three eyes wide open. "How did you do it?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. "In all our histories, no one has ever made the Void-born hesitate. What do your people have that the rest of us lack?" Cole thought about the question for a long moment. He thought about the independence, destroyed but not defeated. He thought about the thousands who had given their lives without hesitation. He thought about Price, standing in this very chamber years ago, watching her species be laughed at. "We have stubbornness," he said finally. "We have the inability to accept that something cannot be done. We have 1,000,000 years of evolution that taught us to fight, to adapt, to never give up no matter how bad things look. And most importantly, we have each other." The ambassador considered this. Those are not technologies, those are not weapons, those are traits of character. Yes, and they are the most powerful weapons in the universe. Outside the chamber, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the small dramas playing out beneath them. Somewhere in the darkness, the Void-born waited, perhaps planning their return, perhaps reconsidering everything they thought they knew. And on a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, 8 billion humans went about their lives, most of them unaware of how close they had come to extinction. They worked and played and loved and fought, just as they always had. They looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there, just as they always had. But now something had changed. Now the universe knew what humanity was capable of. Now, the galaxy understood that this young, primitive, overlooked species was not to be dismissed. Earth had been ignored at every summit. Earth had been written off as irrelevant. Earth had been left to die by those who should have helped. And Earth had survived anyway. That was the human way. That had always been the human way. And as Cole stood in the council chamber, accepting recognition that his species had earned with blood and sacrifice, he knew that it would continue to be the human way for as long as humanity existed. The stars were no longer out of reach. The galaxy was no longer a place where humanity did not belong. The future was no longer something that would happen to them. The future was something they would make. Together. The end.